Hello everyone, this is Tack from CallOfDutyZombies.com with an update on the new viral campaign for Black Ops 6, following in the same vein as previous virals with packages to creators and a website to boot. As those before it, the viral began generically, and the theme follows previous virals, so question everything and don't follow your political leaders wholeheartedly, which brings us to the tagline of the entire campaign, "The Truth Lies." So the opening clips are activists hanging posters in a city center, as well as defacing Mount Rushmore, but it does get a bit more interesting after that, with clips of world leaders and tales from the time. These tales focus on the late 80s and early 90s, seemingly revolving around a United States on the verge of defeating the Soviet Union and gaining their status as hegemonic power, which is displayed in the Gulf War and after, which of course is what the game will be about. We are going to start with what I find is the most interesting video so far, the live action trailer, before we get to the website itself, thetruthlies.com.
We're recording. Truth is, your whole life is a lie.
You wanted peace, so we hit the war, and now it rages on in the shadows.
Behind closed doors, where we hide the world's secrets.
While we build your trust, the world falls apart around you. If you weren't so distracted, you'd realize
Nothing is what it seems. But if it's truth you seek, look in the dark.
Alright, so we've just seen 5 big figures in political and military history. Bill Clinton, Colin Powell, Margaret Thatcher, Bush 41, and of course Saddam Hussein. And they're all following the same theme: don't trust your political leadership wholeheartedly, and they're even the ones telling you not to. So I think it's time we get into some history. Why the Gulf War? I'll spare you the obvious, right? So this game picks up roughly where Cold War left off, but we don't even get past 1981 in Cold War, and the virals are hovering around 1991, with the end of the Soviet Union and the beginning of America's decade of peace. So we need to fill in some gaps, and this takes us to Saddam most importantly. 1979 is the big year in the Middle East. Iran pivots to a theocracy, and youthful extremists storm the U.S. Embassy holding 49 hostages. Saudi Arabian extremists storm the Grand Mosque in Mecca and gun down over 100 people. Pakistan has a military coup the year prior, and more activists storm the U.S. Embassy 2 weeks after Iran. And the Soviets invade Afghanistan to help prop up the existing communist government. Most of this within about 7 weeks of each other. But also in the summer of '79, Saddam took over as president of Iraq, and there's immediate tension with Iran for lots of reasons we don't need to address here, but Iraq invaded Iran for what would be a near decade-long war. And the US, including Vice President Bush, who appears in our viral, doesn't want either of them to win and supports both Saddam and Iran to maintain a balance of power in the region. And of course, work to retain the lifeblood of the Western way of life, energy, aka oil. Here I will insert my own personal desire for Iran-Contra to have made its way into Cold War, but alas, the timelines would not match up. Anyway, that's the key point to remember. We reopened diplomatic relations with Iraq and took them off the state sponsor of terrorists during the 80s, and by the end of the war, Saddam was even more untrustworthy of the Americans than he was when he came in 1979. And this will lead us to the Gulf War. I am a bit hesitant to go much further given the campaign reveal is just a week away, Sunday, June 9, but let's do a quick overview anyway. The Iran-Iraq war results in a highly depleted Iraqi economy, with a now highly experienced military, having fought in a war for nearly a decade now. And where better to find money than in oil? And Kuwait was a prime target, especially given that Iraq maintained a border dispute with them previously. Bush 41 became president in '89, so it's going to fit nicely into the game here. and Powell's service in Vietnam made him quite respected to the point of becoming chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He was skeptical of using military force without broad support from the public and Congress, and this even extended to signaling measures where you pre-position carriers or ships if an incident is about to happen or you're trying to prevent one, as that may create a slippery slope into unintended action. And the administration stated that they, quote, take no position on the border delineation issue, end quote, between Kuwait and Iraq. So to Saddam, without clear signals from the administration in opposition, he assumed he could get away with invading Kuwait, and thus did so in August of 1990. I'll leave it there for now on the Gulf War, since we have a lot more time to discuss as things develop. The final tidbit I think is worth discussing are the rumors of September 11 appearing in BO6. We'll see what happens. I'm not really going to get ahead of myself here, but throughout the 80s with Iran, Saddam was using chemical weapons and worked to rebuild his nuclear facilities that Israel had bombed in 81. While he secretly decommissioned many of these initiatives, he didn't want to say so publicly so that he didn't appear weak and vulnerable to Iran. On top of that, he assumed the CIA had already penetrated his government, so surely they knew the real truth about the nuclear program. He could get the best of both worlds, so he thought. That, of course, wasn't the reality, and, among other things, would lead to 2003. That is everything I've got for you here today. Again, I am Tack from CallOfDutyZombies.com, and I will see you soon with another video, and hopefully we get some more updates soon.